Hi Aquarius, and welcome to your January 2022 General Tarot Forecast. This is Sky, coming on to talk to you about the energy coming up in your lovely month ahead. We are getting closer and closer to your time of the year. We are going through your collective 12th house, and what an interesting period of time it is for you. As I've been meditating on your energy this month, Aquarius, I've had some really wonderful aha moments myself. I've really understood how to move forward, and I've felt that there was a very easy connecting way that you can bring your previous efforts to a more relevant place this month. So I feel like January is going to be a month of creating relevance, and it's going to be a month of making things work, I think, as well. So it's kind of like you almost just have to get things together during this month. Like while the sun is in your 12th house, it's going to be really nice to have some completion on a previous, difficulty that you had, like an inability to make decisions, an inability to reach a consensus should start to resolve itself in January. And I'm thinking we're going to have a wonderful Aquarius season throughout January and February of 2022. I think that there's going to be a lot of, easy acceptance of where things have landed and an ability to just have a very steady kind of life generation that prepares us to step onto a new path of higher purpose. So you've got the Fool, you've got the Three of Cups, you've got the Chariot, and the Ace of Swords coming up in your reading. All of those cards seem very Aquarian for you this month, as it seems that you have to maybe start something anew, or you have to know that things are heading in a new purposeful direction. The Fool and the Chariot together in the same reading is very much about forward progress and very much about, something new. So maybe slight evolution is the best way at this time. Maybe you, like me, need to make a new website. I'm actually working on that myself right now as well. And I was getting some incredible new insight and incredible new concept just when I was meditating on your energy, Aquarius. So I'm thinking that if you need to create any new concepts, or if you need to create any new structures, it's going to come through very openly to you. At the same time, there's kind of that question, I think, for everyone, but especially Aquarius, of like, do I want these new creations to resemble the old way? Or do I want to really step out onto a new limb and maybe just leave behind some of these older ways of doing things, though kind of risk, an unguaranteed result? So January of 2022 to me looks like a period of time where you can just know the way that things will be in the future, and you can really take a lot of security in that knowledge, though there might not be a complete implementation yet. There might still be a lot of drafting or a lot of blueprinting that you have to do. Again, we're preparing for All Planets Direct coming later in February, and that's going to be a really wonderful time to implement. And it might be good to use all of January to prepare for that implementation. All right. You also have the Moon coming up in your reading and the Eight of Swords, so that's kind of the juxtaposition here. Like on one hand, you have this part of you that's like, push forward. Don't even use this old contextual stuff, like just totally make it new. Then there's this other part of you that's kind of like, but I can't risk, the insecurity of total newness, even though I know that that's what I need. You might have a tendency, in fact, to play things safe and kind of go into that Eight of Swords place. Like, even though you can't really see the way things are headed, even though you can't really maybe move around very freely in this current construct you've built, you know that it's there, and you know that it's confining, and just knowing what it is almost securing for a lot of Aquarians. I would definitely use the month of January to consider about whether this current context or this current structure is as freeing or as liberating as you make it out to be. Does it give you the freedom that you are looking for? And does it give you definitely what these other options or these new things or these new programs would give as well? Like, it's just really good to find an honest self-dialogue about the way that some of these new concepts will really move you forward. Also, there could be a possibility of trying to be too many things for too many people with this energy. Again, as I keep trying to go into the intuitive messages for you, I keep getting pulled to a lot of different places, and it's leading me to like not really be able to succinctly give any type of. You see, even now, it's like I can't really confirm any one direction or another. So it's kind of like being so overwhelmed by potentials. You've had Jupiter and Saturn in your sign for such a long time that leads to this like huge, just myriad of open doors, and that's increasing, I think, for your sign in 2022. And it could be anything. It could be the Fool, it could be the Chariot, it could be Eight of Swords, it could be the Moon, it could be Three of Cups, it could be Ace of Swords. And it's kind of like, which side of this do we want to take it from? Do we want that great new idea? Do we want that mobility? Do we want that brand new story regardless of the outcome? Do we want that old contextual secure thing? We know it inside out, and we're kind of tired of it, but we know it, and that's kind of comfortable. Or do we want the brand new network? Do we want the huge new networking, new group of people, new organization or something? All of that is hard to have at once, though it feels like your energy is almost demanding it all at once. So I would almost think that hierarchy of priorities is the key here. What is your priority, and what do you want to see for yourself by like 2024? That would help you to bypass a lot of time wasting, bypass a lot of confusion, bypass a lot of unneeded components of the experience, because the Moon here is kind of playing an interesting role where you might sort of associate all of these open doors with a feeling of abundance or a feeling of like opportunity. And certainly you are a very abundant and opportune sign and have been since the end of 2020. But I don't feel that it's abundant or opportune when we're so overwhelmed by potentialities that we can't even, I don't know, understand where we currently are in the present. I feel that your sign is not the only one that is going through this. Again, it's almost like Aquarius season is really coming in to highlight this for everybody. But as an Aquarius, I feel like you might have to be maybe the front and center of this conundrum, and maybe be an example for all of us about how to create a hierarchy of priorities, how to know what is too much and what is too little. I think that a lot of people are tricking themselves up a lot with like thinking, wow, I have all this stuff, I have all of these opportunities, I have all of these open doors, look how abundant I am. But it's like also none of these things are really done or created in a very, I don't know, in a very simple way. It's like the way that we can thrive the most, I feel, in January of 2022 is just to prepare for a very simple format framework that is just obvious, transparent, open, and easy. People will love the easy. People will love the simple. People don't want a huge, complex system at this point in time. But as so many of us have become very fluent in like these complex generation languages, we almost want to like brag or show off a little bit. And I'm seeing a lot of people making like really complex businesses, organizations, really complex relationships, really complex realities for themselves, stamping that as kind of an abundant thing because of how complex it is, because of how many factors or how many different components there are in how many different, I don't know, elements there are to these schematas. This is something that the Aquarian archetype does deal with. It's a hierarchy sign. So translating this into a more mundane language, again, beware of making overcomplex businesses, okay? Beware of also the people who don't accept simple solutions, like always trying to complicate things, always trying to veer away from a simple answer, veer away from a simple format, because that's going to be just the best way to offset. We have Jupiter in Pisces now in January. We have a lot of placements that are going to complicate things naturally. So you can almost expect, like, even for your most simple or methodical aspects of your life to be given new layers or new elements, okay? And that's particularly devastating if we have these already super complicated things, because they're going to get even further complicated. And, North Node moving into Taurus in January, right? It demands simplicity. It demands almost like a new material segmenting for most of us, and a new simple material segmenting. You will thank me by 2023 if you can simplify your game now. If you can remove some of these overgrown things, if you can just go into that one kind of simple and versatile area, you will feel really good by the time this year ends. The reason we don't want to overcomplicate right now is because I feel that all of us need a little bit of open space to actually allow true abundance in. And I think that the workaholic Capricorn tendency, having had Capricorn be so activated over the last few years, the way that Capricorn energy will work with open spaces, it will try to fill it, or it will be like, oh, I've got free time. Let me decide how I can delegate this free time. Oh, I have free time. I should be signing up for another shift. I should be making a new business. I should be doing something. I should be redoing my budget. I should be, and this becomes like a very manic thing. Okay. Try to maybe gain a new relationship with the open space, free time element of life, and be wary of contracting that immediately. Like, oh no, oh wow, free time, free space, contract. That's the way that the 2020 year cycle started us out. We got all that free space and all that free time for many people during that year. And we also saw, if I don't work, if I'm not productive, what will come of me? And I think that most of us have already created new productivity cycles that are good enough to exist in conjunction with free space so that we can allow new abundance in. And really, and I've got to see this myself too, and I'm really happy this is coming up in your reading. I hope it makes sense to you. Pay really close attention to this tendency to like keep making things bigger, and contract, and, not allowing for any type of open yin space, free energy. Because at the same time, I'm seeing so many people make all of these things. They're like, I'm building a bridge into the thing that I really want. But it's like, how are you ever going to get off that bridge? How are you ever going to actually allow what you want in? Okay, so if you're connecting somehow in your mind that like what you currently have coming out of Year of the Ox, coming out of 2021, what you currently have is maybe not what you want forever, that's a huge wake-up call going into 2022. And the only way, like seriously, the only way that I feel that we can work with that is to maybe decrease that a little bit. This sounds crazy, but this is actually very obvious, If we've come out of 2021 not maybe, wanting that forever, it's got to decrease a little bit, right? It's got to retract a little bit so that free energy can be a thing, and maybe we actually have a chance in hell of like doing what we actually want to do. Okay, so this is a major war on compensation grids, right? That I feel the collective to be suddenly like contacting in 2022, January. And by all planets direct, I think that there's already a consolidation in a good way or a bad way, okay? And we can choose. Like, for me, I'm trying to consolidate a little bit more off of mainstream social media. I love mainstream social media. I love YouTube. I'm always going to be here. But I am currently working on a new website, and I'm working on, my business, and I'm working on all of that stuff to make it a really nice, concise, obvious, and well-functioning thing that doesn't, require me to have this kind of like manic, overwhelming, oversaturated model. And I think it's going to be really good for me. It's going to be really good for the content. It's going to be really good for those of you who enjoy the content. it's going to be overall really great. And I just think it's a good dialogue for any of you in the same place. Like, really, now is the time. Now is the time to condense and to optimize and to finish that. We talked throughout the entire year of 2021 about optimization. And we could think all we wanted about it in 2021. Now we've got to really do that, okay? And it's going to be really supportive. I think it's going to be really kind. And I think that even, if you're like me and you just love what you do and you see like what you're currently working on to be something really not just good for you, but, helpful for other people and something that is really close to like that territory that you want to be in, even if it's perfect, I would almost recommend condensing it even further a little bit, if you can, because everybody needs to not be a factory during this time. And everybody needs to, if they want to take things to the next level, it's no longer going to be about just working 90 hours a week. It's no longer going to be like that easy formula where it's like, if I just work more hours, I get more. Where if I just push my limits further, I elevate. We're out of that, guys. And I love that this is coming through, but it's like, that's over. Yes, the Capricorn energy, the triple conjunction, the Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter in Capricorn did mean that if you pushed your limits and if you just worked and almost like push yourself into a difficult place, you were going to elevate, because like that's kind of how Capricorn energy works. It's all about hard work and, intelligence, intellect as well, working hard and smart at the same time. But now we're kind of out of that. Pluto's still there as we move into January and out of Capricorn season, and eventually Venus will go direct out of Capricorn. We're going to have to see that our methods of working, our methods of creating, contributing, all of that type of stuff has to become perhaps a little bit different. And we have to really pay attention to if we have overdone it, and how can we make these frameworks a lot more right and a lot more simple, okay? But long kind of discussion and stream of consciousness about some incredible Aquarius energy. And I think that the lessons that the archetype of Aquarius can teach right now are very good for us. Yes, about simple frameworks, about transparency, about simplification, optimization, AI, automation, even. All of those things, I think, have different roles to play and can be helpful in people, humans, having a little bit more or less in their lives. I mean, these things can also become over-empowered too, but we're at a good time, and I think I talked about this early in 2021 about how we're actually at a pretty good middle zone where people can actually really benefit from things like automation. People can really benefit from certain things that people don't have to do anymore in a lot of places. This is not global, like this depends on where you're at, but I would imagine if you're listening to this video, many of you, some, not all people, but a lot of you could really free up a lot of time and space in your life. Like, I'm talking like 30% could just be gone tomorrow, and you could have 30% more time, and imagining that, like, I think that we need to do that. I think that we need to try, because I think that a lot of us are actually not being granted access by ourselves to our true purposes, to our true journeys, because we just don't have time. We don't have that free space. We don't have that free energy to really get it, to really compact it, to really also know that things can change in the future. There's a terrible trend right now, and I'm going to call it a terrible trend of people, and this is, again, an aftershock of the triple conjunction in Capricorn, but it's like, what you do now is what you do forever. You can't go back. You can't change it. Changes or reimaginings are kind of seen almost as like a dishonest tactic or something, and I just have to wonder, like I understand that some people come from an interesting place with that, but I don't know. I'm wondering if people think that things need to just like never change. Like, I wonder if they would like for like there to be like a one season or like a, like things do change and things are never going to be set in stone. And I think all of us have a handful of examples about the discord that can come from trying to keep things the same for too long. Okay, so this is very refreshing for people who aren't afraid to make those changes, or people who aren't afraid to, you know, allow for a seasonal type of life living experience. But yes, for those of us who want things to stay the same forever, it's pretty difficult. And I feel that the sign of Aquarius is really getting a lot of psychic downloads about how to navigate these types of questions and these types of, for most people, conundrums right now. Like, how do you navigate a chapter of your life where you know that, you know, where you're at is not exactly where you want to be, but you feel worried about giving it up? That wavering place, that wavering energy. You know, Aquarius, I think, right before we get into your week to week here, if you can think in the month of January about like the way that your life could seasonally shift in a really positive way right now, as a kind of natural evolution, as a kind of natural pacing, I think that you will just go really far, and I think that you will kind of become a trendsetter, if you're not already, about how that's done and how that perhaps is also ethical and also natural seeming. You know, like that happy feeling when you see winter move to spring, kind of put into a human natural evolution. So anyway, let's talk about your week to week really briefly. I talked for a long time, but I just think, you know, Aquarius season is going to be so big for everyone this year. After having that previous year of Jupiter and Saturn being in your sign, like this Aquarius season is going to like really get some stuff set for a lot of people, in positive and negative ways. But okay, let's look at your week to week here. Okay, so week number 1, beautiful Ace of Swords rooted down by the Fool. New idea, new action, one foot in front of the other. Like already in the very first week of January, you're like ready. You're like, I'm done. I'm done with this old way of thinking. I'm done with this old construct. I'm done with this old turmoil. I'm seeing you have incredible new ideas and incredible revelations in the first week. I do feel that it's time to think new, but also to act new. Okay, so solar plexus evolution. Again, small things, less heavy things. The Fool has that small rucksack, and that's all. So try to not weigh yourself down with too much heavy stuff, okay? Week 2, you've got the King of Swords rooted down by the Three of Cups. You know, there's a much more mature way, I think, that you're dealing with relationships and networks and professional relationships, platonic relationships. Those types of relationships have a new meaning to you. And I think that a lot of you are probably seeing, you know, we can't do this alone. I have to maybe have a few friends. I have to have a few networking connections. I have to have some people. Some Aquarians have been like islands, kind of like hermit mode. And the second week of January, I think, is going to introduce you to some new wonderful people on your path. Okay, so week 3, you've got the Moon rooted down by the Knight of Swords. I think you have to get out of these illusions. I think you've got to move pretty quickly and like say, okay, I'm not dealing with these, I don't know, having to look at things in a certain way, having to suspend disbelief could be really hard for you by the 3rd week. The sun's moving into your sign during that week, so I think you have some quick movements again. So much swords energy here. As the 4th week, you move into the 8 of Swords rooted down by the Chariot. And you are probably leaving that confinement behind, okay? There is a movement. There's a mobilization. There's a transporting of you. Okay, so you could be moving. I mean, you could be changing jobs. You could have something like that. So like there, I feel you moving from point A to point B in some way. But you could be hesitant. Like I'm feeling like, you know, I'm just... It's a rut. It's not just a rut for you, it's a rut for everybody. But I think everybody is kind of like, how do I traverse now? How do I move? Okay. I'm actually, you know, personally working on a new series about this very question. Okay. How do we do it now? How do we do this? So, you know, that's exciting. And I think that you have to make it exciting for yourself too. That's one of the ways that I'm making it exciting for myself is I'm trying to like integrate some of these questions into my content creation. And I'm like, how can we make this a more collective decision-making process through talking about these things? And that's how I'm trying to kind of frame it for myself. It's not perfect. It's not like solved it yet for me, but I'm trying to find new ways to answer these questions. And I think that you need to find new ways to answer these questions for yourself as well, Aquarius. But let's talk a little bit more about that in your extended reading. If you guys want to check out your extended reading on Patreon, I would so appreciate it. There's bonus content over there every Saturday in the form of tea chats, and you can get all these readings early and ad-free and extended. You can click below and in the center of your screen to get that. We will talk about a central theme and 2 supporting themes to help flesh out this reading a little bit more. It was a long one here on YouTube, so be sure to subscribe if you're new, and comment below and let me know how it resonated. Much love, Aquarians. Let's do this extended. Bye.